Welcome back. In my previous lesson, I taught you what a Concierge MVP is. It's an experience, it's not a product. I also mentioned that there are two key benefits to a Concierge MVP. The first is to understand who your early adopters are and form a close connection with them so that they'll provide you with feedback. The second is to reduce your iteration cycle. Normally, you'd build a whole product and then market it, only to discover that the product doesn't appeal to the user base that you thought it would. But with a Concierge MVP, you don't need to have such a lengthy cycle. You can begin by testing the value proposition through messaging, and then you can change it if it's not attracting any early adopters. Now, both technical and non-technical founders always groan when I tell them to not build anything. They push back and they tell me that customers are going to want to see and play with a product before they can determine its value. Now, here's where the misunderstanding begins. Too often we think that the value comes from features, when really customers value a product for its benefits. Let me tell you a really simple story to illustrate my point. I had a student who was pretty confident that she wanted to build a product that helped private practice doctors retain their patients. She even had the mock-ups ready, and she was ready to hire someone to build the product. But I told her, don't build anything just yet, and don't even bother showing the mock-ups during an initial conversation. She was a little reluctant, but she agreed to my experiment. So she approached several doctors in her city and asked them if they had any problem retaining patients. The doctors responded that their problem wasn't retaining patients, but getting paid on time for the patients who were walking through their front doors. In fact, the vast majority of the private practice doctors in her city that she met had the same problems, and the existing billing product just wasn't helping. They needed to reduce the time it was taking for them to collect payments. The benefit that they were looking for was getting paid on time. Imagine what would have happened if my student had conveyed this benefit rather than the one she thought before. Well, they'd probably be interested in signing up, and that's exactly what happened next. So whether you're a technical founder who's a whiz at coding, or you're a non-technical founder who's eager to build a product, you've got to take the time to identify the main pain points a customer is experiencing. Knowing what the pain points are, you'll then be able to understand those, and you'll be able to translate them into some benefits, which is, of course, the value proposition. Then it doesn't matter what your product is that you're trying to sell to early adopters. Your early adopters are instead going to be interested in experiencing the benefits that you spoke about. And then you can give them the Concierge MVP. In the next lecture, I'm going to provide you with some examples of successful startups that began as Concierge MVPs.